Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a piece of software you probably use every single day, but maybe you don't know the incredible story behind it. We're talking about your web browser, and specifically the story of the fox that took on the giants of the internet. So let me just ask you this. You click that icon on your desktop, you start browsing, but do you actually know the story of how that browser came to be? Because for one of them, it's a history that literally shaped the web as we know it today. You see, this isn't just a boring story about code. It's an underdog story. It's about a small team that took on a massive monopoly, completely changed how we use the internet, and is still out there fighting for a different kind of web. This is the story of Mozilla Firefox. Okay, so to really get this, we have to go back in time. Picture the early 2000s. Back then, one browser completely, and I mean completely, dominated the web. Internet Explorer 6. It came with every Windows PC, and for most people, it just was the internet. But here's the thing. It was also slow, it was super insecure, and it hadn't really been updated in years. So, rising from the ashes of Netscape Navigator, which had famously lost the first browser war, a small team of developers started this wild experiment. Their goal was simple. Just build a better browser. They called it Phoenix because, rising from the ashes, it was designed to be lean, fast, and a total rejection of the bloated software of the time. After a couple of name changes, Firefox 1.0 was finally released in November 2004, and honestly, the web was never the same again. And this shift just proved how hungry people were for an alternative. Firefox wasn't just a tiny bit better. No, it offered a fundamentally different, way more enjoyable, way more secure way to be online. And people noticed, fast. Just look at this. Within 5 years of launching, Firefox had snatched up nearly a third of the entire global browser market. That is an incredible feat against a Goliath that came pre-installed on basically every computer. I mean, think about it. 1 out of every 3 people on the internet made the choice to go out, find, download, and install a new browser, all because the default option just wasn't cutting it. So why did millions switch? Well, because of features that we totally take for granted today. But back then, they were revolutionary. Tabbed browsing? That meant no more messy taskbar with 50 different windows open. The built-in pop-up blocker felt like an absolute miracle. And the extension system, the add-ons, it let you customize your browser in ways that were just completely impossible with Internet Explorer. But you know how these stories go. Just as Firefox was hitting its absolute peak, a new challenger stepped into the ring and completely redrew the map. In 2008, Google, which was already taking over search, decided to enter the browser war with its own product, Chrome. And, well, the market today looks a whole lot different. Chrome's speed, its super simple design, and its deep, deep integration with Google services, it all led to a huge drop in Firefox's usage. It pushed Firefox from being the top contender right back into that familiar underdog position that it's in today. So, what do you do when you're facing a decline like that? When people are saying you're too slow? Well, Mozilla went all in. They started their biggest, most ambitious update since version 1.0. It was a massive project codenamed Quantum, and the goal was to rebuild Firefox from the inside out. And Quantum wasn't just a new logo or a fresh coat of paint. No, this was a complete engine overhaul. They moved to a modern multi-process architecture, kind of like Chrome's. This meant it was way faster and way more stable. So that thing where one bad tab crashes your entire browser, we've all been there, that was gone. It was a huge, huge improvement. This big reinvention also sparked a shift in their mission. It wasn't just about being the fastest anymore. It became about being the guardian of your privacy. With companies like Google building entire empires on collecting data, Firefox saw a new way to be different, a new fight to pick. See, they realized they probably couldn't beat Chrome on market share alone, so they decided to double down on what makes them unique, protecting you from all the tracking online. And a huge piece of this is something they call total cookie protection. The simple way to think about it is this. It puts up a wall between every single website you visit, so a cookie from one site can't see what you were doing on another. It's a game changer. And this really shows how they're building multiple layers of defense to make you much, much harder to track online. It's a fundamentally different approach. They're actively blocking scripts that try to profile you, they're isolating your data, they're fighting back against that whole surveillance economy by default. Okay, so after this whole journey, the rise, the fall, the reinvention, what's the big takeaway? Why does the story of this one browser still matter so much today? Well, it really all comes down to their founding mission, which is maybe even more important now than it was back then. Unlike every other major browser, Firefox is made by the nonprofit Mozilla Foundation. Their goal isn't to lock you into their ecosystem or sell you ads. Their goal is to keep the internet healthy and open for everyone. And that's really the bottom line. When just a few massive companies control how all of us get information, having a strong, independent, nonprofit alternative isn't just nice, it's absolutely crucial. Competition is what gave us tabbed browsing. Competition is what's pushing for better privacy today. Without a real choice like Firefox, the web just becomes a place shaped by the business goals of a handful of corporations. And that's the question Firefox's story really leaves us with. In an internet run by giants, what is the true value of an independent choice? It's something worth thinking about the next time you open your browser. What kind of internet do we want to have? And what role do our own choices play in building it?